case for now. But if you guys have any type of request, it doesn't have to be true crime. Leave them in the comments below, please. Let's talk. Let's get to know each other. So this is a true crime case of Marcus Wesson, and I do want to start this video off by saying this is a very gruesome case, and it involves raping and molesting underage children. So if this is a sensitive case for you, or a case that may disrupt any moment of your life, please find another video to watch. If it's not any of mine, there's 1,000,000,000 other lovely YouTubers, creators that has videos that you might find interest to. So again, do not let this video disrupt you. We are not meant to live a life where we are purposely looking for things that will disrupt our happiness, okay? I'm really big on that. But before I count you down, I do have some wine, and I filled it up kind of tall now because, guys, listen, I've been having a week. If you guys want to hear about it, leave it in the comments, and I'll definitely make another video. If you guys don't care, then we just won't care. And I have some lotion. I fell off with putting lotion on, but I purposely brought my handy dandy lotion. Have you guys seen that Blue Clues video where he apologized? That's a whole nother story. I'm a 90s baby, so I definitely was crying. Yes, me. No, you were crying. I was crying when that apology video came out. Okay, and then I have a candle, Cozy Comfort, something that I just picked up from Walmart. So let's get started. If you guys hear a noise in the background, that is my heat because it is like 30 degrees where I am currently. And if I turn it off, it will make my house really cold. So I cannot turn it off. Okay. Alright, so you have five, four, three, two, and one. I am now beginning this case of Marcus Wesson, and I will refer to just his first name from this point out. Okay. So Marcus was born on August 22nd of 1946, and he eventually was convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder and 14 sex crimes, which included the rape and molestation of his daughters and his nieces, which he also fathered his own children again with his daughters, which then made it his daughters and his granddaughters. I don't know. So Marcus was born and raised in Kansas and her name is or was Rosemary Solorio. So Rosemary, at the time of her meeting Marcus, had 8 children of her own, and in 1971, Rosemary had given birth to Marcus's son. So 3 years later, in 1974, Marcus had began sexually abusing Rosemary's 8-year-old daughter at the time of when he started this abuse. Marcus then married this same daughter when she turned 14, and her name is Elizabeth Solorio. So she was 14 when he married her, and Marcus was 27. So judging by this information, it appeared that Elizabeth was pregnant during the time of their marriage, because 4 months after they got married, she gave birth to her and Marcus's first child. Well, to her first child with Marcus, because Marcus already had children. Eventually, the couple had 10, yes, 10 children together, including one infant who had died. So Elizabeth, again, she's 14. Later on in life, it doesn't say the age. Elizabeth's sister, that's also by their mom, Rosemary, had came to Elizabeth and let her know that she could not care for her own children, and she asked if Elizabeth and Marcus could take in her children. So Elizabeth agreed, and she took in 7 of her nieces and nephews. So the reason why she took these children in was because her sister had a drug problem, and so she felt like she could help the children out and her sister as well. Marcus during this time was not working. He never held a steady job, and he was receiving welfare. And during this time, his older children was demanded to work, and he required them to give him all of their income. In 1989, Marcus was convicted of welfare fraud and perjury. So it doesn't say how he was convicted of this welfare fraud. I'm assuming he lied on his application or said that no income was being received in their home, which was false because his older children had their own job and he was receiving their earnings. But it doesn't give much information about that. The family, however, was known to live in rundown shacks, boats, and vacant houses. They were constantly moving, and they were not steady at all. persons that they were allowed to speak to. However, both male and female children were physically abused. So, Marcus had began raping 2 daughters and 3 nieces, starting at the age of 8, and each of the 5 girls became pregnant as the result of that rape. So, before this incident that I'm going to go into happened, Marcus was telling people that he was going to relocate his daughters and their children to Washington State, where Marcus's parents lived. But information is going to go against that lie. So, on March 12th of 2004, several members of Marcus's extended family, along with the 2 nieces that was in his care, but they had rebelled against him, had got the family together, and they all went to the residence of where they were living and demanded the release of their children. So, with no basically Marcus was not agreeing to that. The family had called the Fresno Police Department, and they told the Fresno Police Department that they were having a custody issue with the children, and so the police then came out to this property as well. So the police knocked on a door. We don't know into the details of what happened, but there was a standoff between Marcus and the police department that later came on that day. So Marcus had told the police, like, okay, wait at the door, and he went back into the home. When he came back to the door, his clothes had blood all over them. So later in the trial, the police had testified that they did not hear any gunshots being fired at that time. However, several witnesses that was around the area of the residence had said they heard gunshots being fired, so they didn't understand how the Fresno police could not hear these gunshots. So after that, on that same day when the police finally went into the home, they had discovered 9 bodies, including 2 of Marcus's daughters, and a total of 7 of their children in a bedroom with antique coffins. So that's where I say that him saying he was taking them to go to his parents' home in Washington State was a lie, because you already had antique coffins made or brought to this home. So your intentions was at some point to kill them, because you weren't gonna load these coffins into a U-Haul to drive to Washington State. Like, you weren't gonna do that. So each victim was fatally shot through the eye. Marcus's other children Wesson was one. So during Marcus's trial, the prosecutor was Chief Deputy District Attorney Lisa Gamonian, and Marcus was represented by public defenders. So the public defenders had presented the defense saying that his 25-year-old daughter, Sabrina, committed all of the murders, including of her own son, Marshy, and then she committed suicide. The murder weapon was a .22 caliber handgun, and it was found with her body, and her DNA was found on the gun, which was in favor of Marcus's public defender's defense. The jury, however, declined to find that Marcus had fired the fatal shots, but convicted him of murder anyway, presumably finding that he had persuaded his own children to enter into a suicide pact. So they basically felt like he coerced Sabrina into like whatever this cult was that he made. It was something that he told Sabrina she had to do for the cause, and that's why she killed all of them. So Marcus was then convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder on June 17th of 2005, and he was also found guilty on 14 counts of forcible rape and the sexual molestation of 7 of his daughters and nieces. So Marcus was sentenced to death on June 27th, 2005, and he is currently in the San Quentin State Prison. So I don't know what his death date is. Let me see if I can find that. It does not say. But while I'm looking for that, this case was incredibly hard to get through. I have previously tried to record this case for about, like I did like 7 videos, and each video it was something that was going wrong in the video, and so I'm like, okay, am I not supposed to be telling this case? Like, what is going on? So I'm not able to find when he is sentenced